you literally are becoming wild by being pregnant and giving birth. Like you really are confronted with the full animal that you are and the way that we just can't control our bodies. And we're really used to controlling a lot of things. And so when you can't really stuff all your leaking body parts into your uniform and head back to work, it's very unsettling.
Welcome to the Be Well Baby podcast. I'm Dr. Emily Spaeth. I'm the founder of Be Well Baby here in Portland, Oregon, and the creator of the Beyond Birth Blueprint, where we support families all over the world. This podcast exists because pregnancy, birth, and postpartum care in this country are fragmented, rushed, and often missing the whole picture. And I believe families deserve better. Here, we talk about bodies, babies, nervous systems, feeding, recovery, and real life through a grounded, trauma-informed lens. And just a quick loving note before we dive in, everything you hear on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not medical advice. It's not a substitute for care from your own team. Every body and every baby and every season is different, and you deserve support that is personalized to you. If something feels concerning or urgent, please reach out to your healthcare team right away. All right, let's get into today's episode. Today's conversation is for anyone who's pregnant, postpartum, or parenting and quietly wondering, who am I now? And how do I fit all of this together? I'm sitting down with Sarah Malin, a career coach and the founder of Livelihood Coaching. Sarah specializes in supporting moms as they return to work after maternity leave, helping them navigate identity shifts, boundaries, guilt, power, and the very real tension between caring for a baby and showing up in a system that was never designed for parents. In this episode, we talk about why motherhood can feel so disorienting, how binary thinking keeps us so stuck, and what it really means to set boundaries instead of chasing balance. And I hope you've noticed this moment in the episode because my mind is blown by the root of the word balance. And we talk about how to strengthen that quiet inner voice, the one that knows it's okay for things to look different now in your life, even though you're trying to make everything look the same as it was before. This is a gentle, honest conversation about identity, work, nervous systems, and finding solid ground in the gray that is parenthood. So let's welcome Sarah. Sarah, can you start by sharing a bit about your own journey? What brought you to working with new parents?
Yeah, I always like to start with my relationship to work because that's what we delve into with my clients. And I start in 2020, which is the year that I did a lot of reckoning, like a lot of people did a lot of reckoning. And I had made it to the well-known corporation like I was trained to do as a overachieving perfectionist millennial. And like many people say, I didn't feel fulfilled. I was earning money, but I didn't feel secure. I was working for this big well-known brand, but I didn't feel meaning behind my work. So I left there to become a coach and start my coaching practice. And it wasn't the overnight resolution of all those things like social media stories make you want to believe. It's been a years long process of figuring out how to strip away those old inherited values and feel pretty lost by doing so, but then slowly finding the new ground to stand on. And as I've spent more time with new moms, my friends and my coworkers, and I'm moving in that direction myself, the more I realized a lot of them are going through some similar value shifts and identity shifts in that postpartum period. So I've been working with them as my main clients, and it's been so sweet to accompany women and birthing parents in that really intimate time.
Yeah, you just mentioned the identity shift. What do you think is like the biggest identity shift that you tend to see?
Yeah, I think it's I think the simple way to put it is you shift from being the professional worker first to being a parent first. But I also think there's something more complex going on, which is that before you have kids, you think of your identity as monolithic, as one thing. And by having kids, you're kind of forced to see the reality, really, which is that identity is like a multiplicity of things, and it's socially constructed. So who we are isn't just this one non-negotiable thing. It's affected by all the people we spend time with, and that it's very hard for humans to hold complexity like that.
Oh, it's hard for us to hold both and the gray, because everything really actually exists in the gray.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And motherhood really forces you to confront that.
Yeah, it's hard. I think professionally, it's easy to not recognize who you are anymore. I have the privilege of being in a profession where being a mother was actually very validating.
Yeah.
As working in a hospital setting with babies and children, if you don't have kids, the parents are sort of like, well, what do you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get much credibility that way. Yeah. And it's been really sweet as I move towards that chapter myself to feel my identity kind of coalesce and feel more of that connection with the people I work with. It's like joining a club.
It is. So you don't have kids yet?
No, no. Well, it's a little early to make an announcement, but I'm moving there.
In that direction. So why do you think that parenthood and specifically motherhood is so disorienting for people?
Yeah. 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 And I like to use the term bewildering here too, because I think that perfectly defines how you literally are becoming wild by being pregnant and giving birth. Like you really are confronted with the full animal that you are and the way that we just can't control our bodies. And we're really used to controlling a lot of things. And so when you can't really stuff all your leaking body parts into your uniform and head back to work, it's very unsettling. It's hard to feel confident that we can be a good employee and be a good mom at the same time. I also believe that in women, especially, in lots of people, but the default coping mechanism can be to blame ourselves. And so that can be really confusing too. Like I'm not performing the same way, so something must be wrong with me. And I love to help moms slow that conclusion down and really take apart this web of what's happening to them chemically, what's happening in our society, and then what's happening in their mind to understand what's the solid ground they can stand on right now amidst all the swirl.
What do you see as some of like the biggest challenges that your clients face when they're trying to balance that identity of being a mother with leaking body parts you're trying to stuff into your clothes and being a professional that wears a uniform?
Mm-hmm. There are external challenges and there are internal challenges. And I think it's really important to contextualize ourselves in our external society, that we live in a country that, as developed as it is, does not have a federally mandated paid family leave. And so it's a really tough environment to come back into when it feels like we're the exception, not the norm. Even if your company does have a policy, employers are rarely intentional about laying out, this is what the leave experience is going to be, and this is what the return experience is going to be. So people feel really isolated and like they have to figure it all out by themselves. And that's super challenging and really ripe for feeling self-doubt.
I have a client who recently returned to work and she had been told that her role would be one thing. And when she got back to work, she had a different boss who said her role was something else.
Yeah.
And she had, gone on maternity leave believing that there would be a shift in her work that would be more conducive to that balance. And then it wasn't there.
Yeah.
That is awful. So that's a huge challenge that I have seen. Another one is just like the logistics of pumping at work.
Yeah. 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 So there's like the legal landscape, which is that your role should not change and you should have a job to come back to, but both of those aren't always going to be true. And then there are the logistical challenges. There is what's called the Pump Act that means legally you're required to have a private place to pump. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what makes pumping easeful at work. There's also all the work-life boundary things in terms of like getting home in time for pickup or
You probably already have one of these, but if you don't, I wanted to tell you all about the Aura Ring. I started using it postpartum with my second baby so that I could actually see how poor my sleep quality was. And watching the subtle shifts over time has been incredible. It tracks your heart rate variability, your sleep, your recovery, even the little changes in your body temperature before you notice them. It was really amazing to see my stats change throughout my third pregnancy and then watch them improve postpartum. One of my favorite things, it actually gives me permission to rest. And as someone who struggles to rest, that is everything. It really points me to recovery in a way that nothing else does. You can click the link in the show notes for 10% off your Aura Ring, or if you already have one, grab one for your bestie or your mom for the holidays. They deserve rest too. I also want to say that just because the Pump Act exists doesn't mean that your workplace is compliant.
right. Yeah.
That's the part that really kind of blows my mind when you work at a place like Home Depot or something. Sorry to name no offense, Home Depot. But if you work at like a big warehouse, for example,
Yeah.
and you are told, we have a closet, but that's it, you can pump in your car, when, they're not actually following the law.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the empowering piece I love to help moms with, to help them understand what their rights are. And even though you can feel so vulnerable in this stage, there are things you can demand or you can ask for and organize for. I always emphasize connecting with other parents and moms. You're not in this alone, and you all can make change in your workplace, and you can find employment lawyers. There are always more options than moms tend to think there is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You came to my in-person postpartum support group and you said something that there's this tension between people pleasing at work and boundaries for ourselves as mothers. So how can parents kind of shift between those two? Because for me, I know it's not really about finding a balance. It's more of a pendulum.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you define it that way because I've stopped using work-life balance and I use work-life boundaries more so. I always think of kind of on the other side of this coin, I always think of a favorite yoga teacher who said that balance has the same root as ballet, and it's not this static place you find. It's a constant tweaking and tuning. And if you think about when we balance on one foot, you aren't just like rigidly finding your balance, you're constantly wavering. So it's a constant.
That totally blows my mind. I love that. That balance has the same root as ballet. Oh my gosh. Of course, It's all about those like little micro adjustments in your ankles and your hips and all of those little tiny things that nobody can actually see, but you are working so hard to stay balanced.
Exactly. Mind blowing, right? Yeah. So it's a constant checking in with ourselves, which can be hard and which we aren't socialized to do. We're socialized to be checking in with everyone else. But yeah, the more we can strengthen that muscle to pause and take stock of how am I feeling? Am I feeling overextended? Am I feeling whole? Is there an ask I need to make now? That's the micro adjusting that can start really small. I mean, a lot of times moms are saying to me, I don't even know what I like anymore. And they want to make these big career pivot plans. But often we have to start much more simply with like what felt good today, what tasted good, what literally felt good to your fingers. We have to start small with building that muscle to know what feels good before we can make big intellectual plans.
Yeah, I really relate to that. I remember my husband asking me if it was okay for him to take a weekend to visit his mom or something like that. And I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? He's an accountant, so he's all about like balancing.
Balancing the sheet. Nice, nice.
And I'm always like, it doesn't have to be like that. It's not like, but
Yeah.
I kept thinking, well, what do I want? I don't want to go away from my new baby, but maybe I do need some time to myself, but I don't know exactly even what that looks like or what I like exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's highlighting another evolution I like to call out, evolving from people pleasing to finding the win-win. So we're so good at identifying what other people need, but you have to take that second step to figure out what you need, and then you can combine the two to find the win-win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also something else here that I feel like we're kind of talking around, and that is the guilt that some people feel when they actually are enjoying work.
Yes. Yeah. Great point. Yeah. So there are, I think it goes back to this binary thinking, where like either I can be happy or my child can be thriving, or either my employer can be happy or my baby can be happy. And it's very human to try to organize things into two categories and stop there. But again, like you said, everything lives in the gray, and there's the guilt and the shame comes from thinking that there's a mutually exclusive dynamic here, that if I'm happy, then therefore other people aren't happy. And I think there's something really beautiful about giving ourselves more permission to experience pleasure and delight. Yeah, and that's really personal for each mom.
I went away with two of my work friends. For anyone else out there who's an entrepreneur, it's hard to find work friends when you're the person in,
Mm-hmm.
My work friends are people who run their own businesses, and we work on our businesses together.
Nice.
And it's so special, the bond that we have formed. And we just went away for one night, just a little retreat, just the three of us. And it was so nice. And on the way home, it was clear that I was going to be late for bedtime. I was planning to be home for that second night's bedtime, and I was going to miss it. And I was so sad. I'm the only one so far of the three of us who has kids. I ended up, making it home. The kids stayed up. Two of them stayed up and waited for me, and it's very sweet. I got to hang out with them. But there was just this feeling of, I like went and did this thing, but now it's time for me to be a mom again.
And look how irresponsible I was.
Yeah. I should have pushed us to leave earlier so that I knew we would get back in time. And then, of course, I have all the other two feeling guilty that they didn't leave earlier,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guilt is such a powerful emotion. And sometimes it has some truth in there for us to figure out how to come into more alignment. But also, I just think there's so much space to give moms some grace, and yeah, and it'll be complex. You'll feel high emotions and you'll feel low emotions, and feeling excited to be with your girlfriends and feeling sad about missing time with your kids is all valid. They're like, none of those is better than the other emotion.
You can feel both. I think if I went back and I could talk to myself in the moment,
What would you say?
In the moment, it really wasn't. It wasn't like a huge thing. I didn't think about it very much, but just sitting here talking to you, it's coming up for me, So I think if I could kind of go back, I would say you know, if I was like a fourth friend in the car, I would say, hey, you know, maybe bedtime will be a little bit later tonight, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
I'll be so excited to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. A
And
lot of it is strengthening that little voice
yeah.
inside of you. Yeah. What else comes up?
Can you say that again? The like that it's the thing about strengthening the little voice.
Yeah. A lot of this is as much a process about being a companion to your baby as it is about being a companion to yourself, being a friend to yourself. And so it is about strengthening that little voice, that fourth friend voice in the car that can say to you, maybe bedtime will look a little differently tonight, but it's okay. Mm-hmm.
There's such like softness and
Mm-hmm.
feminine energy around that. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So for people who are thinking about entering back into a workplace, whether or not it looks the same or different than it did before, but
Mm-hmm.
many workplaces, even ones that we've designed for ourselves, run on this masculine energy. Like,
Yeah.
go, go, go. It has to happen yesterday. And I speak from my own experience here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, how can all of us
Mm-hmm.
hold on to and kind of honor that fourth friend voice?
This is our new catchphrase. Yeah.
That like feminine, soft, easy power that you actually are cultivating all the way through pregnancy and birth.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this question. Because we're swimming in a masculine society. We've all been indoctrinated into it. So it's very hard to see it and it's very hard to go against it. But I I think like a big theme is what we've already talked about is honoring the gray, honoring the both and. It's going slow. It's creating space. It's listening to our bodies. A lot of these things are like pretty ubiquitously said, but to actually do them and feel okay about doing them is a whole different story. So giving ourselves grace to move slow and listen to our bodies can be a long endeavor. I Same thing as I'm trying to set up my business. It's amazing to see all the pressures I feel, even though I'm the one that gets to make the decisions. So trying to take an experimental mindset with like, last week I had a busy day and then decided I needed to make the day busier because feeling more productive is still something that I think I should do and feel better about doing. But next week, what if I already see a busy day and then schedule things on another day? I mean, that's like a silly, simple example, but
It's not because we're all doing that. Like, I need help with this just as much as the next person. And I'm constantly telling people that they don't have to work so hard.
yeah.
But that's for other people. I actually have to work really hard.
Right. Yeah. Right. We're always giving ourselves a different rubric. And that's where it can start. That's what we can control is how we treat ourselves.
Oh, yeah. We are so, so hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I am in the middle of this journey. Like, I've been on this journey since I don't know if you know this, but I started my business and worked in the NICU at the same time.
Oh. Mm.
And there was a moment where I finally was able to step away for just a few hours and take one yoga workshop
Mm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had not even found out that I was pregnant yet.
Oh.
But I felt nauseous and I felt like I was probably pregnant, but I didn't know for sure. And there was a journaling activity that we had to do. And I journal, but only when I'm forced to, because nobody has time to sit down and journal when you're trying to change the world.
Never.
So I journaled and it just opened up something in me
Mm-hmm.
that was like, I don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
yeah. And of course, now I am trying to do everything.
Yeah.
But it was like, you don't have to do the hospital and your business.
Yeah.
You can be a good person and also have really, really loved working in the neonatal ICU and
Mhm.
also take that incredible experience and use it.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that you're leaving anything behind. It doesn't mean anything except for that it's just a new chapter.
Yeah.
And that was a huge moment for me. And I just remember vividly feeling like I need more space.
Yeah.
More space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've just been on this journey for the past 2 years, probably trying to find that space.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I can't.
Mm.
It's so interesting.
Mm.
Other people can see it too, that as soon as there's space, it's filled in.
Mm-hmm.
Like your busy
Mm-hmm.
day that gets busier.
Yeah. It can feel elusive.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know even where it's coming from. So I'm excited for listeners to, on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's that phrase, everywhere you go, there you are, I think is really important when we're making big career changes that are supposedly going to change everything for us and make it all better. And at least I know that in my self growth journey, have always been very focused on behavior and like, I want to change and this is how I'm going to change. That has actually been fairly aggressive towards myself. And in the past few years, I've shifted more to the goal is awareness, not behavior change. Behavior change might end up unfolding from my awareness shifting, but I can't the more I put expectations about how much my actions change, the less the less they change. So that's another one of those really subtle relationship to self shifts that I'm trying to make for my life. Because it can be so frustrating to be like, wait, I'm supposed to do something, but then it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm still stuck in the same habits, which are actually survival strategies. It's another term I like to use from my therapy experience, that there are good reasons why you fill every space. That was important for some stage of your development and likely childhood. So we can't say it's all bad.
Right. And it's also partially inherited, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
If your baby ever needs a pacifier, and not all babies do, the one that I would want in your world is the Ninny. It's the only pacifier designed to actually mimic the shape and function of the breast. It looks like this. It's very soft here, like an areola, and then harder, like a nipple. And this shape means that it supports healthy oral development instead of interfering with it. I really love it because babies don't just passively hold it in their mouth like the ones with a bulb on the end. They have to actively suck. It's hard work. It's my workout pacifier. And that matters for feeding, for regulation, and for long-term oral function. It's especially beautiful for breastfed babies who need a little extra soothing without confusion. If you're listening and you're pregnant, postpartum, or buying for someone you love, you can grab a Ninny through the link in the show notes or use the code BeWellBaby for 10% off at checkout. It's one of these tiny little tools that makes a huge difference. And my favorite part about it is that babies don't get dependent on it. All right, let's get back to the show. You have framed this as not just something personal, and I know I'm not the only person in the world who does this, but it's part of this like larger identity that we experience nationally and probably throughout the world.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think it's so important to depersonalize some of these things and recognize that we're part of a system. We're doing exactly what the system wants us to do. We're also at certainly a reflection point where we're seeing the real costs of this Protestant work ethic or these productivity myths, and how connected these can be with the real systemic inequalities in our country. And we're also just at an extremely polarized time in our country. And so a lot of us are questioning our values and questioning whether our country is still practicing the values we stand for. And that can be a really shaky time to be figuring out what are our family values that I want to model and teach to my children. But I think it's all the more important to take a step back and take stock of what do I stand for, even if the place that I live in is not standing by that. How can I still create a little microcosm, a neighborhood that exhibits those values so that I can be aligned and show up the way I want to for my kids? Yeah, that's what I find grounding, is really looking at the hyper local community that I'm a part of and my literal relationships with my neighbors on my block, and looking for ways to help friends, rethinking my social life. It's not just about going out and drinking. It's like, how can we actually show up and help each other, whether it's doing some yard work together or babysitting each other's kids. I'm going off on a tangent here about my own
I mean, you're bringing all this stuff up, and I feel like my neighborhood, I am so lucky to live in this neighborhood.
Mhm.
And, you know, all the kids go to the elementary school and they all take the bus together and they all know each other. And, this morning I was running back down the hill from dropping my daughter off at the bus stop. We live in 2 bus stops, so depending on if we're late or early, we go up the hill or down the street. And I was coming home and I saw someone walking back from the bus stop with her son. And I was like, oh no, did you miss it? And she was like, no, he just didn't want to go. I've never met her really. And her kid is in kindergarten. It's the second week of school. It's, but just that like 2 minutes of action and understanding, like, oh, this kid, he's having a hard time. This mom, she's having a hard time. And it kind of hit me that like those moments, it's not about like going out to dinner with your friend and talking for an hour necessarily.
Only, yeah.
But it's those small, the accumulation of those small moments over time with the people that are surrounding you that make you feel safe, that make you feel seen, that lead to a better quality of life. And it was just really cool and profound.
Yeah. Those moments of profound experiences that are in the mundane are really life-giving. And yeah, I've felt the need to be more in person and get off of social media so that I can have those shared humanity moments. And it's been really fun in the past few months to not use social media for my business promotion and just go find new moms groups in town and actually be face to face with people. It's so much more stabilizing and rewarding. And that's an example of how I'm trying to live my values, even though they feel different from the business strategy norms.
Wow, Sarah. Well, thank you. I'm curious, for new moms or new parents who are listening and are about to go back to work, what is one mindset shift or tool that you would love for them to carry with them as they go?
Yeah, I think we touched on this earlier, that I see so many parents feel very powerless, that like our country isn't great at supporting working parents or families, or their employer doesn't give many options. And the mindset shift is that you have more power than you think, and you have more options than you think. You might think that it's all about the policy that's written down, but don't forget that your relationship with your manager is the focal point. And there's a lot more possibility you can find by having some like truly connected conversations with another human. So
I love that. It's true. You know, your manager might go to bat for you. And if
mhm,
they didn't, then maybe that's not the right place for you to work anymore. And like, whoa, think of those options.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, lots of options.
Sarah, where can people find more about you and connect with you?
Yeah. My website is livelihoodcoaching.com, and that's lively with a Y. So LIVELYHOOD coaching.com. There's a contact form on there. And I'd love to hear from anybody. Like I said, I'm not really on social media these days, so the website is the way to find me.
Do you see people virtually?
Yes, we meet over Zoom. So I have clients around the country. And yeah, if you reach out through the website, I'll give you a complimentary 90-minute session and we can go over things that are top of mind for you. And then I'll tell you a bit about how I typically work with new parents. I like to be generous with my time up front to really get to know people deeply.
Wow, Sarah, that's amazing. So, a free 90-minute session to kind of discover if it's a good fit and see how you might be able to help.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's really cool. So, livelihoodcoaching.com and not on social media.
Not on social media. Sorry. Cool. Thanks again, Emily. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, Sarah, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like there were so many moments here that invite us to soften, to zoom out, and to remember that we are not broken. We're responding to systems and seasons that are genuinely hard. If you're listening and preparing to return to work, or already in it and feeling totally unsettled, I hope this episode reminded you that you have more power and more options than you might realize, and that you're allowed to move slowly, ask questions, and let things evolve. And as always, thank you for being here and for letting these conversations meet you wherever you are in your pregnancy, postpartum, and parenting journey. I'll see you next time on the Be Well Baby podcast. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at BeWellBabyPDX or just visit BeWellBaby.org. Send an episode to someone who's pregnant, postpartum, or just needs guidance. No one should have to do this alone. Welcome to the Be Well Baby podcast. You're in the right place.